There is a reason that 90+% of feature films are shot on cinema lenses. They combine unparalleled optical quality with high color accuracy, consistency across lenses, build quality that lasts decades, and the accuracy of manually focusing to the 1/10 of an inch, to say nothing about manually adjusting exposure during the shot. But no matter how good cinema primes are, there are always going to be some scenarios where autofocus is highly desirable, if not essential. These include long interviews with shallow depth of field where the subject may be moving in and out slightly, or Steadicam and gimbal shots where it's difficult for the focus puller, even remotely, to follow the operator around and pull focus as they go. To say nothing of the extra cost and manpower needed to have a dedicated focus puller on your crew, which is not something everyone has the luxury to afford. So this previously meant buying 2 whole sets of lenses, a Cine Prime set for 90% of your shots, and then an entire other high quality autofocus set, like these Sigma Art lenses, that matched the cinema primes in their aesthetic, but were able to do those specific autofocus shots. And filmmakers have long dreamed about a system that would allow them to have autofocus with cinema primes. And I should mention that not all cinema cameras, in fact, most dedicated cinema cameras don't have autofocus, including the industry standard ARRI Alexa range, as well as the first cinema cameras, the RED. With the Ronin RS3 system that combines focus motor with a gimbal and LiDAR, the filmmaking holy grail may finally be coming true. The RS3 is the 3rd generation of DJI's compact gimbal setup, and the Pro package is just over $1,000 and comes with a remote video system called the Raven Eye and a remote follow focus system that allows the operator to pull focus from the dial on the gimbal. If you combine this with the $600 LiDAR accessory, you can set up autofocus on any cinema prime, or any stills lens for that matter, with the optional gear accessory. But this system goes further than that. Because it's a remotely controlled activated gimbal, you can even combine focus tracking with subject tracking and have the Ronin follow a subject around the room as it keeps it in sharp focus. This whole system requires the Ronin app, and like any technology with seemingly magical abilities, there are a lot of individual systems working in whole that have to be fine-tuned to work effectively. The RS3 works as the brain and controller of the system, and the camera, I used the Canon R5C, plugs into both the gimbal and the Raven Eye video signal transmitter. The Raven Eye then plugs into the gimbal, and you attach the gimbal to the focus motor, which then feeds through to the LiDAR system. When you first set this up, you'll need to update all the firmware and have all the technologies working in concert together, which can take a little bit of time and a little bit of setup. Everything needs to be attached to the right port in the right order to gain the full functionality. I combined the Canon R5C with the Sigma Cine Primes, specifically the 24mm, the 50mm, and the 85mm, which gives a nice range. After the lens is on the camera, you double-click the function button on the LiDAR, which calibrates the lens. You then go into the Ronin's menu and tell the system what the focal length of the lens is, and you do a couple of tests pulling manual focus at 1 meter and at 4 meters. This lens is now stored in the gimbal's memory, and you can store up to 3 lenses and automatically switch between them by pressing the button on the LiDAR. LiDAR works a lot like radar, but with light instead of radio waves. For this reason, you need to mount the LiDAR unit as close to the field of view of the lens as possible, because if your subject is close to camera and in front of the lens but not in front of the LiDAR will be focusing behind it. For this reason, it's really worth turning on the center marker on your camera screen and keeping your subject centered at all times. It takes a little while to iron out the kinks in this system because there are so many moving parts, both figuratively and literally, but once you do get it set up, it works remarkably well. I was able to achieve beautiful, smooth, tack-sharp footage in just a couple of hours. And when I came back to the system a couple of days later, everything still worked. Even though I had to remount the camera and rebalance it on the gimbal, the lenses were still stored in the LiDAR's memory. Probably the biggest drawback to this system is the weight of operating the camera with a full cinema lens attached. I added these two side handles to help with the ergonomics, but it doesn't decrease the weight. To be able to do shots longer than 30 seconds or a minute long, I definitely suggest using a Steadicam style vest and arm to take the weight of the gimbal. This gives you much more control and allows you to shoot for longer. And these are available for just a couple of $100s now. Because of the relative complexity of this system, I don't advise shooting on a tripod or handheld and then mounting the camera specifically for a shot unless you have a ton of experience doing it. It's much better to have a separate camera body that is balanced and set up and has the lenses mapped, and then just swap from your A camera to this camera when you want to use the gimbal and the lenses. Compact cinema cameras like the R5C are perfect for this sort of use because they combine well with other cameras in their family like the C500 Mark II or C300 Mark III. Combining high quality cinema lenses with the freedom of movement and smoothness of a gimbal creates a whole new world of possibilities as far as shot making goes, and unlocks so many more applications for single operators who previously had to buy 2 sets of lenses or pull focus while they were operating. That's my look at the R5C LiDAR Cine lens combination. You can check it out in the links below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.